Hello LEGO Clubbers, welcome back to April edition of Virtual LEGO Club. This month's theme is going to be an airplane build. So what you'll need to do is dump out all of your Legos so you could search for airplane parts. A tip for your parents: if you are dumping your Legos out, ask your parents for a big blanket or a sheet, dump those out on the sheet, and then it's much easier to pick them up and dump them back into the bin. So, with that being said, there are 5 main components of an airplane. There's the fuselage, or the main part, and then we have the wings, of course, and then the rear assembly of the airplane is actually called an empennage. So that has your rudders and your vertical stabilizers and things. And then, of course, you have your power plant. So like this little build is a propeller-driven plane. And then the last part that you'll need is landing gears. You see, I didn't build landing gears for this little mock, but with that being said, go through. You want to search your Lego bin for anything that looks like a good airplane wing piece or a nice big piece that you could use as the fuselage or the center of the airplane. And then you're going to want your empennage parts, or your rear of the plane. And then go through and search and see if maybe you have some propellers or maybe some jet pieces. So if you want, go ahead and pause the video, and keep in mind it's probably helpful to get an idea of what type of airplane you're going to build. So maybe you want to do a micro build of a jet, or something a little bit bigger perhaps. Or you could do something simple like a biplane, for example. So go ahead and pause the video, go through and collect all of your parts, and we'll get started. So I'm going to deconstruct my mock that I've created here and give you some tips. So sometimes you may not have propeller parts, and one piece that comes in handy with most all of these builds where things have to be symmetrical are these little 2 stud pieces with the stud on top in the middle. It's called a spanner. So what you can do with the spanner, it's kind of cool, is if you wanted to make a propeller, say out of these 2 4x1 stud plate pieces, you can connect them, but it's not going to be symmetrical. So what you can do is you could pop this spanner piece in the middle, just like that. And then if you look, there's a hole in the center of the top stud, and then on the bottom of the brick, that will actually fit right into the middle of the little protrusions on the bottom there. So, for example, let me see if I can get this on camera. I don't think it's going to show up very well, but that will allow you to make a little symmetrical prop. And then other handy pieces for this build are going to be your snot pieces, or studs not on top pieces. So for example, on my little airplane build, we have this piece where you can attach it onto a brick, and the studs are on the side. So again, studs not on top. So let's just go through a really simple little airplane build. I have my fuselage. I have my wing pieces, for example. All right, so we're just going to attach the wings to the fuselage, like so. Very simple. And then I'm going to make them a little bit more less blocky, I'll say. So I'm going to actually attach these wing pieces onto the end, just like that. That makes it look a little bit better, I think. All right, cool. So now grab your studs not on top piece so we can put our prop on the front of our airplane, and just pop that on there. And then here's another spanner piece that comes in handy. This one's a 2x2 stud spanner, but you could see you could put it right on the top, or on the side I should say, because the studs are not on the top, right like that. And then I'm going to put a little windscreen on my airplane, right like that. All right, and now that you saw how I created the little propeller piece, if you don't have a propeller, you can take the same idea, right, and pop your propeller right on the front of the plane, just like that. Awesome. And now we're going to do the empennage, or the rear of the airplane, with all of the control pieces. So for this, I'm going to actually use an illegal building technique that I've shown you before. So there's our rear stabilizer there. And now I'm going to use the vertical upright piece here, and I'm going to pop it in between the studs so it sits straight up and down, just like that. And there you go. You have a little simple airplane build, enough to get you started. I have a couple of mocks here that I've put together that you can take a look at for reference. I mean, you can get as detailed as you want. So here's an example of an engine that I started to build for the front of a plane. Pretty cool. Doesn't spin very well, but you get the idea. So get creative with it. Again, use those studs not on top pieces to come up with some unique building techniques. So another couple pieces that are really cool, especially if you want to do a micro build like this. This is my little F-18 Blue Angels plane. You can see the little tail wing pieces are out at an angle just like an F-18. Super easy little micro build. These little pieces here on the top of this brick, they make for really, really great cockpit pieces on micro builds. So if you could find some of those, they'll come in handy if you're doing a smaller build. This is a really simple blocky build of a biplane that I created. So you don't have to get too crazy, but again, you can see I use those spanner pieces right here in the back, so that I could put the upright right in the middle of the two stud pieces. So another good example of the use of the spanners. And then you could also get creative, maybe attach some jet engines if you have them, things like that. So think of your favorite airplanes. I personally like fighter jets. So for my main build for this Lego club, I created an F-15. So this is my F-15 that I created. And he's got his afterburners on. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Sits flat on the table. Oop, my hands are a little shaky, but that's okay. Perfect. So again, get creative. You don't have to stick with what you've got. It took me multiple iterations to get this F-15 the way that I wanted it. And probably longer than I should have spent building it, but I had a fun time doing it. So again, use your imagination. You can use reference pictures on the internet of different types of planes, whether it's a biplane, a fighter jet, a glider, a spy plane, anything that you want. So again, I hope that you have fun with this build, and take care until next time.